Okay guys, welcome again to the last Chef Look Cooks before summer. We will be starting it up again next fall. And this is actually me asking you all to start thinking about what you like. We've been going over the things that I like over the past 3 months. Meatloaf, waffles, mousse. Today we're gonna do lemon zest, which is absolutely one of my favorite things. Very specific lemon zest. That I used to use back when I was working at Morning Glory. It's from a company called Perfect Puree, and I fell in love with this as soon as I picked it up. It's a stable ingredient you can keep in the freezer for years and years, and just use it every time you like. And it's like not liquid, but it's usable when it's frozen, so you can pick it right out and use it right away. It's fabulous. I went to go buy some, and it was like $60 for a quart tub. So I did some more research, and I found out you can just make it. It's really easy. It's literally just lemon rind and sugar in equal parts by weight. So we're gonna make some today. I'll show you guys how to do that, which is great. Gonna save you $60-something.
Thank you.
And then you'll have that in your freezer for any time you want to add a little bit of brightness to something. Lemon juice is great. It's very acidic. It's a fabulous thing for pickling or for adding acid to your dishes or in a drink. But lemon zest isn't like that at all. It's sort of deep and very like, it sort of hits you lower on your tongue, at least that's the way that I describe it. It doesn't really have that same acidity that the juice does because there's no acid in it. There's no citric acid in the peel. It's just oils, like citronella, essentially. Same sort of concept. I actually love the smell of citronella candles, which isn't really funny because it's the same vibe. One of the things we're going to do today is we're going to make sure we have as little pith in here as possible, but we'll talk about that later. For now, I learned my lesson last time. We're going to get our potatoes cooking right now. So. I went through and I just tried to grab the smallest potatoes I could. I was going to use those little tiny ones, but for a pound and a half of those was the same price as 5 pounds of these, and I was like, I'm not doing that. So I just picked out the small ones. I will have to cut these up smaller later, but I'm leaving them whole in the hopes that they stay together. When you're making a potato salad, if you cut your potatoes, the edges can get a little bit overcooked. Then when you mix it up, you end up with kind of like a half mash potato salad, which is not what we're looking for. And so I'm specifically using a little bit bigger potatoes and not cutting them so that when we go to cut them later, we'll have nice crisp edges and they won't break down as much. The inside might be a little bit more crispy and hard, but for potato salad, that's kind of okay. You want some more sort of mouthfeel. So I'm going back here. I'm going to use our big burner today. Make sure we really hit boil fast, and I'm not dealing with either uncooked potatoes or even worse, hot potatoes. Not to say that you couldn't do this recipe as a hot potato salad. I think the lemon zest, it definitely tends to a more sort of cool experience, but if I, lowered the lemon zest, added a lot more mustard, I know you put like a little bit of like cooked bacon in there or something, we'd have a hot dish in no time. So it's not out of the question to do this with a hot dish. Generally when you're making a warm potato salad, you don't use mayonnaise. Not that hot mayonnaise is bad. I mean, it's really great on like sauteed fish or grilled fish or roasted fish, but it can get a little bit weird when you're putting cold mayonnaise into hot potato salad. Not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's not one of my favorite things. I do like mayonnaise, by the way. I want to make sure that that's loud and clear and heard. I actually quite enjoy it, but I have people in my life that don't like mayonnaise. I'm not going to name names because it's a pretty divisive subject. So I sort of developed this back when I was working at Morning Glory as a way to sort of please that crowd. We had a lot of people coming in and asking like, all your salads have mayonnaise in them. What are we going to do? And one of our chefs literally just in a rage was like, just make a salad without mayonnaise. And so I just sort of looked around, grabbed my absolute favorite ingredient, the frozen lemon zest that we had been using there. And at the time, we were growing this beautiful variety of bok choy. This is called kamatsuna. It looks almost like kind of like a collard, but it is technically a bok choy, a version of bok choy. And it's crazy. They actually stopped growing it for a really long time. And this year, I have no idea why. They knew what I was doing, I guess. They started growing it again. And I went to Morning Glory and I got this kamatsuna kale or choy. It's really amazing. It's one of the more mustardy choys, but it's also one of the sweeter choys, which is why it works itself perfectly into this dish where we're using a very sweet lemon zest and a very mustard. I just grabbed like the cheapest stone ground mustard I could find. You want to have something that has the least ingredients possible. If I had more time and I had ever had success making mustard, I'd probably just make my own. You can soak the seeds in vinegar, you cook them until they pop, and then you're pretty much done. But every time I do that, it's just a little bit more bitter than I like. And so since we're using the zest today, I didn't want to risk it. So I just bought some cheap mustard, but you want literally as little ingredients as possible, as least processed as possible. This one is stone ground. You can use whole grain. They're both good. I like the stone ground though because it usually has a little bit more of like a Dijon bite to it. Some of the whole grain ones really taste a lot like mustard, but they don't have that sort of like bite that we really are looking for to go with our lemon zest. Because we don't have as much lemon juice in this dish, we're gonna be missing that acid that we really want to make this dish feel bright. And so the mustard is gonna bring what the lemon zest doesn't and kind of make it this perfect pair. So another time sensitive thing we're gonna do is pickle red onions. These take about an hour, so I'm gonna start them now, and hopefully at the end when we're putting everything together, they'll be perfect. Realistically, they want to go overnight if possible, but they're quick and you can speed up the process by using a hot brine. We're not going to bother doing that. And the way you do that is you take your salt and maybe a little sugar if you want to. You boil it down with the white vinegar and then pour that over your onions. We're going to do almost like a fermented version here where we're going to salt the onions and let them sort of release their juices. And then we're not even going to drain that off. We're just going to add the white vinegar right over the top of that. The salt will have broken down the membranes of the cell walls, and then that vinegar will have an easy way into the cell, and it should pickle it fairly quickly. I like this method because it's more oniony, to be honest. We're going to put both these onions in this big, massive potato salad, and we want that sort of crisp, oniony bite. Again, we got something sweet, we've got something really sour. The onions are very sort of like meaty almost. They might make your breath smell just a little bit, but not too bad, and that does get better if you wait the whole day as well. But I really like them in there, and they're also this bright, beautiful pink, which again, I made this dish for sort of a commercial setting. It looked really nice in the case, and that was one of the big selling points. So for onions, you can cut them however you want. I personally like to do pretty big pieces, so I'm going to do half moons, which would just be, I'm going to put this into quarters and then just slice. I like that size because they're useful for other things. If I wanted to use these pickled onions for like a taco, for instance, they go really well on that. But for this, I am going to eventually cut them smaller. If you're making these pickled onions only for this potato salad, you can just cut them smaller right away. They'll pickle a little bit faster. But again, I really do like to have them in this sort of half moon configuration, just because, then they're just sitting in my fridge being useful for anything. I put them on the side of almost anything. I had some with grilled cheese the other day. It was absolutely delicious. All right, let's go. And you can use any onion for this. I just like red onions because the brine gets really pink and beautiful. And they just, as a garnish or as like a side, they just add so much to the dish when you take them out. And they have that really nice bright color. Interesting. So I feel like we've been getting, I don't know if you guys have been using onions lately. Maybe some of you have noticed it as well. We have like a new variety of onion in the world, it feels like. Maybe it's just the ones I've been buying lately. But the skin is like thicker. I don't know if anybody's seen this or not. It almost has like a little bit more of a more papery feel. It's interesting. I've been working with onions a lot in my life, and this one almost has almost like a styrofoam kind of vibe to it. I've noticed it just recently, like this year. So I don't know if it's just new onions or maybe just this particular variety that we've been getting. Obviously, supply chains change everywhere, but just kind of a weird observation I've seen. They still pickle just as fine though. It's just always funny when I'm peeling them to feel this sort of squishy. I feel like onions used to be a little more crisp, but maybe I'm just getting older. I don't know. So again, I'm just cutting these in half lengthwise, and that's going to allow me to get those half moons I was talking about. You could also, if you wanted to, just cut sort of this way. Get that out of there for now. Cut this way along the side. They'll be a little bit longer, but I like this way because it's, even though these onions are vastly different, the two halves aren't going to be that much different in size. All right, and then we're just going to go along and cut these as thin as I possibly can. If I had a mandolin, I could use that right now. That can be a little bit dangerous with onions just because they're so slippery. And we don't really care too much if these are super small because we are going to be chopping them a lot smaller for our potatoes. Yeah. Oh, well. We'll put that to the side for now. Yeah, we'll put it right in there. We might as well pickle it along with the rest of these. And that's one of the things when I was talking about the different onions later, is when you get to the end, they get a little bit more slippy. They're not the same as they used to be. And I think a lot of that is sort of the curing process. So we might just have a really big batch of onions from Mexico or something that are just making their way through the process. Onions will get grown and cured in massive batches. And they'll still good for a very long time if they've been cured properly. So sometimes you'll eat an onion that's a year old and you'll never know if it's been stored properly. So maybe we just got year-old onions. So I probably should have kept, I'm just realizing now, I should have kept the root end on this. You guys all saw me cut that off. I was just kind of going through the motions. But if I had kept that on there, these wouldn't be slipping around at all. I'd have the root here. I'd be able to hold on to the root, which would keep my fingers safe. And then when I got to the end, I'd be able to work all the way through. But in a moment of weakness, I just kind of went for it. I cut so many onions in my life. I love onions. I put them in basically everything. So it's kind of just like an automatic thing to just like cut both the ends off and go right through. I even like left the root end on for a second there. I saw it happen in my brain. But that's okay. We move forward. Seems like just the outside is really slippery. So I just made this for myself about a week ago, just because I wanted to test out the rind. I hadn't tried the preserved rind yet, and it was delicious. I am so happy, and I learned a couple things that I'm going to bring with you guys. I actually used less onions, and I think the full batch is just well worth to put it in there. I'd used about half the batch. I just didn't want it to be too oniony, but it worked out. It was definitely worthwhile. So what I'm doing is I'm layering the onions, then I'm just going to sort of shake a little salt over the top of those, and then another layer of onions, breaking them up as I go. Shake a little bit of salt over the top of those. And this adds up to about, a tablespoon per onion, but it's okay if you go a little bit heavy. The salt's not going to hurt anything. It'll actually speed up the process. So if you really didn't have any time, you could go pretty heavy on the salt. But if that was the case, you might want to sort of either rinse them or drain some of it off. So you just don't want too much salt in the end product. Or if you are going to do that, maybe don't use all the brine or don't season your actual potato salad as much. Whenever you add salt to a dish, you got to think about where it's going to end up. And so if you're putting it in a big dish like this, and this is super salty, I just don't have to season that as much. It's the same deal when you put a really salty curry paste or something in a curry. You don't really need to do a lot to that beforehand. You pretty much don't have to season it at all because that curry paste kind of has it all going on in there. I had a handy question.
Was it regular table salt?
Oh, yeah.
Kosher?
So I'm using kosher salt. I find it works best for pickling. They have pickling salt as well, but I like kosher salt. It's big pieces. For me, it just feels like it cuts better through the cell walls. I don't know if it's just a visual thing, but the little pieces of kosher salt look like little blades, whereas table salt with iodine in it and everything doesn't, it will work just fine, but I always, it just doesn't feel like it works as good. I've used it before when I didn't have kosher salt, but at this point in my life, I feel like I have kosher salt for everything. So just keep in mind that if you are using kosher salt for your entire diet, you got to find your iodine somewhere else in the world. I actually don't know. I think dark greens have quite a decent amount, so we're kind of making up for it right here already. All right, cool. So these are salted. That's big. We had to get that started because that's going to want to sit there for about 20 minutes or so. These will also, this would be how you do a lacto ferment for a very simple one. You'd salt your cabbage, and then you just sort of beat it up a little bit and let it sit on the counter. And once it releases its moisture, you'd push it down under that liquid and let the lacto fermentation start. We're not going to get that far here, but it's a similar start. And it's lacto fermentation is something I really enjoy. It tends to be a little bit more meaty than a normal ferment. So this is kind of where this process started and came from. I did this again at Morning Glory. A lot of this dish is kind of like a tribute to Morning Glory. So hey, it's springtime, by the way, guys. Veggies are coming back out. This is not an official endorsement, but we do have a lot of farms on this island, and they're beautiful. So definitely get out there and try and find some cool stuff. All right, those are going. Let's check on the potatoes, see if those are boiling yet. Almost. Good, good. It's already going much better than last time. All right, sweet. So let's see. We got our potatoes, we got our onions. Let's just jump into our next piece here. We're going to make our lemon zest puree. So I have this very particular peeler. I actually brought this one from home. I don't know if you guys remember from a couple of months ago when I was trying to peel squash. The peeler here takes off an inch, which is not what we want right now. We want no white if possible. So I'm going to attempt, I already washed these by the way, I'm going to attempt to take only the peel off of this. I will warn you too, this is a half pound and a half cup of sugar. It is going to make more than we're going to use today, but that's kind of the beauty of this, is it will keep for a very long time. You do want to go at least a half cup and a half cup. I think there might actually be a misprint there. A half cup is not a half pound. A half cup should be about a quarter pound. But pint is a pound the world around, by the way. You do want to make a fairly large batch, though, unless you have a small food processor. This will not work in a blender. It will bind, and the things won't blend well. You really need that wide base to get things mixing and moving correctly. If you have something similar to a food processor, you could probably use that as well. But this is pretty much, as far as I know, the only thing, apart from like literally sitting on your counter and chopping this for an hour to get this done well. But you do need a big enough batch, or it's just not going to do anything. It's going to stick to the walls immediately. So I do feel like the quarter cup is like the sort of threshold to using this. We're actually going to double the recipe because I usually am doubling stuff in here anyways. So it's going to fit really good in this, but that is about where I would go for this size food processor. Some people have the sort of small ones, and you could do like a really small, even just like a single lemon if you wanted to. All right, so let's get a chance. Let's go at this peeling. I'm using this like I would like a potato knife, like a paring knife, and I'm just going to pull towards me. And what I'm hoping to do is stay very close to the surface. So I'm purposely kind of pulling not only towards me, but sort of up towards the skin. And we're going to see how it goes. This might be a sort of tedious process. I might have to come back through. Yeah, you can see. So that white there, it's not inedible. You can eat the whites on pith, but they're very bitter. And we won't notice that bitterness too much right away when we start this dish. But if you store this over time, after a couple days in the freezer, that bitterness will start to come out. It'll bloom, and your beautiful lemon zest that was really, really good the day you made it will start to taste sort of bitter and almost chemically. If you ever tried to eat a flower when you were younger, or even if you weren't younger, sometimes they're just irresistible. You'll get that similar sort of perfumey flavor, and that's what's in that pith. And that's a defense mechanism of the citrus. They don't. That's just all right. Well, maybe this peeler isn't going to help that much, but that's okay.
A zester.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a zester, that's great. There's like ones that like have like the 3 little blades that like will peel strips off. That's awesome. You can use a. It's just a lot more tedious, so I didn't bother using it today. You can use a microplane like this, and just like actually zest the lemon. And if depending on how this goes, I might actually switch to that. We'll see. But you get a little bit less that way, which can be kind of disappointing. But that's also makes your life a lot easier. If you don't have a food processor, you could just use that as well. Mix it right with sugar, and you're pretty much done completely. Maybe it's just this lemon. This lemon's a little soft. It's not my fault. We'll give it one more go, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to switch to the microplane. This actually has a pretty big section that I think might actually chew through these pretty fast. So this is what cooking is all about. You got to be adaptable, work with the tools you have. If I just had a paring knife right now, I could be doing the exact same thing. With a paring knife, I'd probably be cutting deeper, bits of white, but it's okay. You can always get rid of that. Just like when you're very similar to taking the flesh off of like a piece of fish. You want to get a nice edge here. Get your knife in there. Come on, buddy. I have way too big of a knife for this. That's the problem. I thought we had a good paring knife. Now we'll give this one. All right, so you want to get your knife in there like that and just sort of run it right along the bottom. And just like when you're doing skin, you see that's nice and yellow now with no white at all. You can come back through this way. So that's what we're looking for, and that one's actually pretty good. All right, let's give this one more shot. Stop talking about it, and we'll see if I can succeed at this task.
Okay.
Hey, we got some action outside.
Yeah.
Somebody hit a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just happy it kept going, All right, so that's not bad. That came out pretty fast, but I just got a lot of white. I think lemons are different. Like every lemon's gonna have a different thickness of skin. I did buy the bagged lemons for this one, the sort of bulk ones, instead of like individual lemons. So you might have better luck with individual lemons. But let's go ahead and give this a shot and see what happens. See if this is any better. We got some time while those potatoes are cooking. Oh, this is actually really nice. Ooh, yeah. Okay, cool. Now we're talking. So if you have a large zest grater like this, which I didn't realize we had here, I thought we just had the small one, this actually might work better. In fact, I think it's going to work better. I'm losing like a little bit more of the actual zest itself, but I'm not getting any pith with this, which is huge. So we're gonna go ahead and just continue this. The only other thing that's a little bit unfortunate about this is I can feel the oils on my hand. I'm releasing a lot more of the oils when I cut it like this, as opposed to the other way, and those are the oils that we want. That's what we're trying to capture here in this lemon zest preservation. And we're just preserving with sugar. Usually preserved lemons, it's a salt process. If you've ever had a preserved lemon, they're really, really tasty. They're a great base for like a butter sauce. You can do like a wine butter sauce for pasta. You usually just get them in big jars, and they preserve them whole with the rind on. And you just use the whole rind. The lemon gets preserved with salt, sometimes herbs, and then eventually, ooh, I hear boiling, awesome. Eventually you add acid to the process as well. Hello. Okay, so now that those are boiling, we're going to turn them down to a simmer. Again, we want the potatoes to stay as whole as possible. So if I was making mashed potatoes, I'd keep that on a hard boil the entire time. But I don't want mashed potatoes. I want perfectly cooked potatoes that are going to cut really well. So I'm turning this down to a simmer, and I'm going to simmer for 15 minutes. And hopefully they'll be perfectly done after that. Perfect. I'll come check on that in a bit. All right, great. So this thing's awesome. I am so happy we have this. I wish I had known we had this morning. I was like practicing cutting off my whites on my peel, which I guess I'll get to put into practice. But I was practicing cutting it off because I was just like, if this happens, I can't be serving bitter zest. And like I said, it wouldn't really make too much of a difference for today. Nobody would really notice if we were to use the whites just like that. It would be maybe a little bit more bitter in its like pure form, but the actual salad you wouldn't notice at all. It would be like the next day or the day after, once that pith has a chance to really sort of work its devious magic, that we'd start to realize like, ooh, this thing is like harsh. And it's not that it's unusable at that point. You know, bitter is a fabulous flavor. A lot of people really like it. It can actually work extremely well in certain dishes. You know, some dishes put whole lemon chunks just right in, or lime chunks right in. You're supposed to like, you know, find them in there and eat them as like a sort of bitter palate cleanser. But you know, those are specific dishes that you'd be cooking for. We probably wouldn't be bothering with this at all. We'd just be cutting the whole lemon up. And that's totally something you can do if you don't feel like dealing with this whole process. You could take an entire lemon like this. You probably want to take the seeds out and just put it right in here with a little bit of sugar. Again, you probably want to go equal parts and then blend it up. You're going to end up with a much different experience. It's going to be more sort of wet because there's going to be the whole juice in there as well. And it's going to be more bitter, but it's going to be also still really very tasty. It's going to have a lot of the same sort of properties that you want, that sweetness, that lovely zest smell. It's just going to be a little more bitter, but you could use it for something like a curry, and I think it would work just fine. That white flavor does tend to sort of break down a little bit if you cook it. It's not quite as intense. In its raw form, though, it's absolutely crazy. So this is kind of fun. It's like painting, but in reverse. You're just sort of taking off the whites. So I'm just going to go through these real fast here. Take as much of them off as possible. I even was picking out these lemons. I was like, okay, make sure you get nice, firm lemons. And I must have just let a couple through, you know. Quality control over here, slacking. Awesome.
Chris, did you peel the potatoes before?
I did not peel the potatoes. We talked about this a little bit last time. I love potato skin, like love potato skin, to the point where I will, you know, keep it on even if a dish tells me not to. The only time I usually take it off is if I absolutely have to. Like I won't even take it off if I'm making like gnocchi, which, you know, can be kind of supposed to be very, very smooth. I like that sort of chunky bit in there. There was a person who made potato bread on the island that I got a while back that had the skins in it, and it was one of my like absolutely most exciting sort of culinary experiences. I just love that. I tried to make it since, did not turn out as well. But there was this one piece where like the skin had gone like right up against the side of the pan, and it was just so crispy. Anyways, it was I mean, I wanted to like dip this in this bread in everything. It was so good. So yeah, the skins are on. For potato salad especially, I do think the skins really make a lot of sense to keep on. Again, we want whole potatoes. We don't want mashed potatoes. And so the skins are going to help those potatoes to keep their form, even if we do accidentally overcook them, which I don't think we're going to do. I think we're going to cook them perfectly. But just in case, you got a busy day, you're out there, you got your potatoes on the stove, you just forget to turn them down to a simmer, or anything, literally anything could come up that happens. You don't have to worry about it as much with the skins on there. They're going to help protect the integrity of that potato. So obviously the zester was the way to go. I did my first time doing this, I did successfully peel the lemons with absolutely no pith, and it was amazing. I thought it was going to go the exact same today. But what are you going to do? It's good. Like I said, we need something to do while we're waiting for them potatoes anyways. Those are going to be our big limiter today. But I imagine if they're done in 15 minutes, we'll put them in the fridge. They'll be perfectly timed for us to finish up this dish. Come on, buddy. So there's also another thing too. I purposely tried to cut very small strips because I was trying to avoid this pith. If you know you're gonna get pith, like if I had known this was gonna happen to me today, I would have just gone for bigger strips. I would have just cut deeper, and just that way every cut I make here to remove the pith does more work for me. So if I planned ahead and was like, okay, I'm just gonna get it, I would have these really nice. I'd have much thicker strips. I probably would have just used the crazy peeler we have here. And then that way, every cut you make does a little bit more work for you. Anytime you can sort of save space like that, save time rather, by sort of making your actions do just a little bit more work, saves you time to do other things like hang out or just relax. A lot of people like to, have a little drink maybe while they're cooking. But the way I cook, the way you guys have usually seen me cook here, not really a lot of like downtime. I don't like downtime. But I do enjoy downtime. It's one of the reasons why I really like grilling. Just naturally grilling wants you to have downtime. You put the things on, you have to wait for that grill to heat back up again and start cooking. It usually takes a couple minutes, so you just naturally in between have this downtime. It's really nice. And so yeah, downtime can be really good. And little things like this that save you a little bit of time here and there gives you that downtime, that ability to just kind of hang out, especially if you're cooking with friends or family. Usually they can help you make that downtime because they're perfect second hands. All right, so let's get this thing going so it has plenty of time to sit in that sugar. This looks like about, I'm just going to measure it instead of weighing it. I couldn't find my scale today. This looks like about 2/4 cups, which is exactly what we were looking for. And I just cut those up a little bit just to get them, give them a little bit of help. Get in there. Oh, that smells so freaking good. All right, and then we're going to just do equal parts sugar. So that's going to be 2/4 cups of sugar as well. And we're not going to put that in quite yet. I'm going to first start by just blending this up. So just excuse the noise for a bit. Perfect. So right now I'm just getting it, it's not really that cut up. It's still pretty rough, but that's okay. This blade is not really going to do enough work. There's just too much movement in there, and this is why you want a decent sized batch. There's just too much movement in there for every single one of those pieces of lemon zest to hit the blade and get cut up. But the beauty of the sugar is it's going to act like a whole bunch of tiny little knives. As soon as we put it in there, it's going to start going with that blade. It's going to make the lemon zest a lot more sticky, which means it's going to hit the blade more, and then the sugar themselves are going to start cutting things up because they're quite sharp before they dissolve, at a microscopic level at least. All right, so we're just going to get this going in, and we'll slowly strain in the sugar. Whoa. Oh yeah. It just smells so good. You guys can smell it out there, right? Okay, good. We don't have, our AC is currently getting fixed right now, so we don't have great ventilation, but that's kind of a bonus for today. You guys see how it's starting to like lump up around the sides? That's a good sign. That means that it's starting to get very sticky. This is just gonna be in the way. It's what it is. And yeah, that's perfect. So now you can sort of see it went from that like very thick bit. It is a paste right now. If you are like that's it. We did it. You could add a little bit of lemon juice in here if you want to, but you totally don't need to. That's perfect consistency. That's exactly what it looks like when it comes out of the jar from the freezer, and we didn't have to pay $65 for it. Although that probably was only about $10 worth. But I don't know how much for the lemons. Maybe it's not that different. However, that's exactly what we're looking for. That will keep in your freezer forever. Obviously, you want to use it as fresh as possible. I'm so excited. I really love this stuff. I will eat it from a spoon. I used to eat it from a spoon until my boss told me to stop doing that. And I still will do it right now, but I'm going to make sure we have enough for the potato salad. I think with the amount of potatoes we have, we might use all of this, so I'm just going to keep that to the side right now. I won't bother scraping it out. But that's it. That's perfect. That's actually better than the one I made at home. So it's so good. The sugar has started to liquefy. Sugar is a liquid after all. You know, it presents like a dry ingredient, but it is actually a wet ingredient, usually measured as such if you're doing baking and stuff. And in this situation, all it took was just that little bit of lemon zest oil to start to liquefy it, and then once it starts to liquefy, it liquefies the rest of its sort of sugar brethren. So the texture on this is actually going to be pretty soft. It's not going to be kind of crunchy like you'd expect from something that has that much sugar in it. I'm so excited that turned out well. This is only literally my second time making it for myself after years of just like loving it and not knowing where to get it. I seriously have not had this in my pantry since I used to work at Morning Glory, and it has returned. Like I have a jar. I made a massive batch at home. I have a jar in my fridge right now, and I just used it last night actually. What did I use it in? I was making ramp pesto. So I went up to Vermont this past weekend, and I went to a farmer's market, and they had ramps there. So I was like, oh, I love ramps. I bought like a whole bunch. And then I also went walking in the woods, and I found some for my first time. I'd never found ramps before. It was so exciting. So I found some ramps. I brought them home, and I took all the greens, and I blended them up with just a little bit of Parmesan, just like the tiny, like 6 almonds, not a lot. I just really want it to be garlicky and rampy. I don't want it to be like kind of nutty and cheesy. So just a little bit of cheese, a little bit of nuts, tons of black pepper, and a little bit of this lemon zest puree, and it was perfect. My breath was like dragon fire because it's garlic. They're ramps. They're like, it's super garlicky, but it's really mild. It's not spicy like if you ate a piece of garlic, but it still gives you that like back of the throat dragon fire experience. So anyways, it was really amazing, very exciting. I love ramps. I'm so happy I got a chance to find some myself. It's the first time ever. So you can see now, or hopefully you guys can see, these onions are kind of like wet. And it's almost like the wet is like thick. At least that's the way I kind of like feel it when I'm like, it almost like it's sticking to each other. That's good. That's what we want. That's the onion's juice. That's that onion flavor coming out. That also tells me that the salt has dissolved and these are ready to start getting pickled. So I'm just going to pour white vinegar in there until they are covered. And then I'm going to put this in the fridge, and hopefully they'll be nice and pink. Yeah, we'll just use them all. Why not? Just in case. That way, I mean, we'll have a really nice onion brine. I really like this vinegar. Once you've used the pickled onions themselves, you can use the vinegar as like a finishing vinegar on like a salad, or if you're making like a really fatty dish, or clams linguine is a really classic one. I'll usually use the pickling brine from hot peppers, but you can use the red onion pickle brine as well. Just squirt it in right at the last second when you're tossing that pasta with the onions and the herbs and the clams. And it adds a little bit of brightness, a little bit of that sort of spicy onion flavor. You can see the brine is already sort of turning pink, and it'll be bright pink when we're done. So let me get this in the fridge and make sure it stays nice and cold. Perfect. It's gonna be so good. Okay, we'll come check on that in just a bit and see how it's doing. I'll give it probably one more stir before we use it, and then we'll be good to go. All right, sweet. We are rocking. Potatoes are simmering. 3 more minutes left. Let's take a peek at how done they are. Fingers crossed. I need a little more time. Let's turn this up. We're getting close though. Nice. Come on. Perfect. Timer. Perfect. Okay, so those are getting close, which is great. When I take them off, I am going to rinse them down with cold water, much like you do with pasta salad or with pasta. I actually almost switched this to pasta salad because I didn't want to have potato problems. I never want to feed you guys raw potatoes, and I never will feed you raw potatoes. But luckily, I do have a backup. I mean, we're going to eat potatoes today, don't worry, but this is asparagus. You guys probably know that this has been, if you don't know, it's been in season. You guys should come get some. It's probably not going to be in season much longer. So normally I'd make this dish with just the greens, but I have this asparagus. I'm very excited about it, so I'm actually going to toss some asparagus in today as well. And I'm going to show you a really nice way. Since we have the peeler out already, I'm going to show you a really nice way to prepare your asparagus for salads. You can do this for pasta as well. It's a really fun technique. You can just put these long strips of asparagus into your pasta. But for today, we're going to put them right in the salad as they are. So normally I'd want one of the Y peelers instead, so I could kind of go along this way. But this is what I've got, so I'm going to use it. Normally with asparagus, you sort of bend them like this, and it's going to snap at some point. I usually try and snap it pretty far down. You can kind of naturally bend it, and this already feels like it's going to snap right there, but I'll usually kind of bend a little bit harder and sort of pull, so it snaps a little bit further. I don't mind the little tough end. If you have a juicer, the tough end is great to put in your juicer. Asparagus juice will still do the thing, but it doesn't really taste like anything, but it just tastes like green. So if you're already making like a green juice with apples or lemon and ginger and stuff, just throw a little asparagus in there, especially during the season. It's going to be great. But for me, I'm not cutting that off right now because I'm going to be peeling this, so it's a great place to hold on to. I can kind of feel where it's going to bend, so it's going to start getting tender about here. And I'm just going to take this peeler and I'm just going to run it down the asparagus like that until there's no more asparagus left. Helps if you get to the edge. And then, so we get these really nice sort of strips of asparagus, which are pretty fun. You could just mix these with the same dressing and make an entire salad right there. The asparagus with a little bit of pickled onion, some of the mustard, and some of the lemon zest. Done. That's a whole salad. But we're just going to toss it in with our potato salad. So I'm just going to go through that. It's going to add a little bit of extra sort of green flavor. And I just couldn't resist. I mean, I just got so excited when I saw the asparagus, I had to buy a couple. So my impulsivity is your benefit today. And these aren't working as well. Again, I think the Y peeler would have worked a little bit better. One thing with this you want to do is I want to get closer to the edge. So when I'm closer to the edge, I can be at the same plane as the cutting board, and that way I'll get a little bit more flat pieces.
Is
Good.
there a lot of difference between the fat asparagus and the skinny little asparagus?
I haven't found any. These are just older. So when you start picking them as they come up, and the first ones are usually a bit thinner, and then they get thicker as the season goes by, but they don't get any less tender. They're still incredibly tasty and delicious. So no, there really isn't much that I can tell. For me at least, I kind of like the bigger ones better. They don't take a lot to cook. I mean, they're good raw. You can just eat them the way they are. That's what we're about to do. This one's very tough. So with the thin ones, I just feel like if I cook it at all, I've already cooked it too much. These can really take a beating. They go great on the grill. They'll actually get a little bit of char before they just become floppy and dead. So that's part of the reason why I like them bigger. I like them to grill them. Right now is a perfect even a perfect day to go get some asparagus to grill. So I like them bigger. I like them bigger for grilling. If I'm putting them in something like a pasta dish, I might like them thinner, so I don't have to do this. I can literally just like put them in whole and they'll like be the same size. So one thing I really like to do whenever I'm sort of cooking is try and match the size of what I'm cooking with sort of what I want it to look like when I'm serving. I'll cut, you know, all of my accoutrements the same size as the potato, or I'll, you know, my onions, if I'm doing like a curry, everything wants to be the same size if possible. I think it's kind of, you know, part of it is just my my sort of most recent commercial kitchen experience, which is in, you know, was in a first sort of fancy place. I want to make sure it's okay. You know, I don't want to feed you guys. Perfect. We're doing good. We're doing good over here. All right, I'm going to try and do these a couple at a time and see if this works a little bit better. I do think the Y peeler is just a better application for this. It doesn't usually get it stuck. Well, I keep forgetting, I keep failing to do my own good advice and keep my knife by the edge, but that's okay. See if we can do 3. Nope. At the edge. Gosh, this smells so good. So I used to work at a juice bar also at Morning Glory. This is like this entire day is going to just be a tribute to Morning Glory. And that's where I learned about juicing asparagus. The kitchen came to me one day and was like, I have all these like asparagus ends. Like, what are we going to do with them? And I, you know, in my infinite wisdom of the time, I was probably, you know, 24 at this point. So, you're not quite as wise as I am today. I threw them in the juicer. I was like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And it turned out it was great. It was absolutely delicious. I used to have a drink at the time called the Full Monty. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that film. It's quite fun. And funny, I don't think we have it here in the library, but I'm sure somebody in Clams has it if you want to sort of relive a really hilarious sort of British comedy. And the Full Monty is about stuff that I won't talk about here, but oh yeah, good. Those are going good. Essentially, the idea behind the Full Monty juice is that you got it all. You got the Full Monty. And so that was the first place where I used the green asparagus. I had a green one and a red one. The red one had beets in it and carrots and other sort of more colorful things, and the green one was just all the green stuff. So I started putting it in the green one, and people loved it, absolutely loved it. It's raw asparagus just has like a really, really nice flavor. It's a little intense. It can definitely be kind of overwhelming, but for a dish like this that we're doing, especially with this kamatsuna, which again has its own sort of intense taste for a bok choy, I think it's going to fit really well. We're not going to be too overwhelmed. All right, keep rocking it. Oh, there we go. Now we got a good groove. Again, I think that the Y peeler is just better for this. It's like a whole different, your hand's kind of out of the way already, and it gives you sort of a natural motion to clear the asparagus that you cut. But that's okay. We're working with what we got. Is that my timer?
Yes.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Perfect. Put those in there. All right. Okay. Those have got to be done. Yep. Awesome. Right on time. So I'm just going to hit these with cold water just to get that temperature down pretty fast. For mashed potatoes, I'd never do this. I want the starch. I don't want to do any of this, but for potato salad, I don't really need the starch. There's going to be plenty of starch in there, and especially once they cool a bit, that starch is going to solidify. For me, I just want these cold as soon as possible. So that's why I'm rinsing them with cold water. It's not going to hurt them too much. If I had an ice bath, I'd probably use that, but I'm just going to put them in the fridge. And these are going to be still hot even when I'm done with this. So they'll have a little bit of carryover cooking, which is good as well. Make sure that their cores get cooked. Usually when you boil potatoes like this, the outside will be a little bit more cooked than the inside. That's actually why you start with cold water, so that that temperature rise is consistent across all of them. So I'm just going to put these on a sheet pan, a very, very big sheet pan, so I have lots of surface area. I'm going to shake them out. You can see even with that sort of gentleness, there's still some bits that are sort of falling apart, but that's okay. It's potato salad. It'll be fine. I'm going to put these in the fridge and let them get as cold as possible. Those will be the last thing we put in the salad. All right, cool. Back to asparagus, almost done, and then we'll get on to some more exciting things. This beautiful kamasuna. Oops, wrong way. Oh yeah. So kamasuna and choys in general are sort of the leafy variety of our lovely sort of brassica world. You know, you've got broccoli, you've got cauliflower, you've got Brussels sprouts, you've got gosh, there's so many things in the brassica family that are just like things you wouldn't even think are in there. But the choy family is one of my favorites because they really stay close. I don't know if you guys ever had some cabbage that you've been eating, like even just green cabbage. You'll eat it sometimes, and it'll give you kind of like a mustardy flavor. That's that brassica family coming through. It's just like sort of part of their roots. They have that, it's almost like spicy flavor, and the kamasuna is one that just is really, really sort of, not aggressive isn't the right word, balanced, I would say. It has that flavor pretty consistently, not in a way that's like aggressive, not in a way that's going to make your sort of mouth explode like you know, raw mustard or what's it called, horseradish would. But it's that same sort of flavor, and I can't get enough of it. I'm so excited that they started growing it again, because I missed it. I really did. I missed the lemon zest. I missed the kamasuna. And now it's all back. So it's going to be a good summer, I got to say. These are some of my favorite summer flavors, and the choy will grow all summer long. There's nothing that's going to stop this from growing. It grows good in the greenhouse. It grows good out in hot areas. You can actually see this one has kind of already started to bolt a little bit. It's got this sort of classic like broccoli flower in the center. And that's fine. That's because this isn't its perfect growing condition. I think it likes fall a little bit better, but it still is going to grow. It's not going to be a problem. And even when it bolts, that's fine because the stems here are very, very edible. They're kind of actually perfect for what we're doing here because we're doing potato salad. And at least for me, I kind of like my potato salad with a little bit of celery in there. So this is kind of like going to act as our celery, our fake celery, and act as a really nice sort of mustardy green flavor to go along with it. I'm using quite a lot of greens in here. You just saw how much potatoes I had. This is almost like half as much of the potatoes as I have for greens, plus this asparagus. And that's one of the things I really love about this salad is it's almost more like a green salad with potatoes than a potato salad with greens. That will change too. It'll be very, very bright and kind of fluffy today. But tomorrow, literally tomorrow, the greens will have wilted enough and it'll be a potato salad again. Like you'll be like, where'd the greens go? And that's okay. You know, we do what we can. So I already washed this. So all I'm really doing right now is I'm just trying to take the greens off from the stem. So I'll have my stem, which I'm going to treat like celery, and then my greens, which I'm going to treat almost like a basil. These little bits right here, if you ever get greens like collards or kale and you have this is the start of a bolt. This is usually because of bad growing conditions. And so what you'll get sort of this bunch very high up the stalk. That's because it's growing really fast to spread itself out. But they're delicious. They're great. This is very much like kind of like a rabe, like a broccoli rabe sort of experience. You just throw this whole on the grill for a little bit, get a little char on the greens. It goes great with like a steak or like a pasta. So I love saving these and just keeping them to the side when I'm processing my greens. I go to Ghost Island a lot, and they have sort of like a mixed kale bunch that they put out. And every single time, without fail, there'll be a bunch of these in there, and I love it. It's my absolute favorite thing. You can just put them in like a pan with some butter too and saute them. They're absolutely perfect. Like this one right here, how pretty would that be? You get it a little charred, you know, this is cooked, and you just put it on the side of the plate with like a nice like laid out steak and whatever else you're doing. Anyways, I really love them. They're kind of a fun little bonus from what would otherwise be viewed as like a failed crop. You know, a bolted green is not what you want. You don't want your greens to bolt. That's usually viewed as sort of a bad thing. But for me, I'm never sad about it. A bolted green is just another sort of texture experience that I wouldn't have gotten to to do if things had gone, quote unquote correctly. So I'm just trying to take, some of these are just not ideal. And I did buy these a couple of days ago, so that's part of it. This was actually in very, very good shape when I first purchased it. So again, I'm just trying to get as much of the stem as possible. I don't need all of it. Any of the stem that I leave with the greens is still going to get chopped up when I do the greens. I just want to make sure I get the stems as small as possible. The green's a little awkward. So nice. So we don't have a grill or anything, so I probably will just chop those out. But it's like feels like a bonus, It's like you get a little something extra with every purchase.
And do you just put it plain on the grill, or do you put oil?
Yeah. So what I usually, whenever I do do grilling, I usually will get like a big bowl, and I'll just chop all my veggies and put it in the bowl, and then mix it up with like a little bit of herbs and oil and salt and pepper. So they'll just get tossed in that bowl and sort of become part of the mix. And I do like a rotation. I'll put like potatoes and onions on first, and then when those are done, I'll put like softer veggies, and I keep getting softer and softer. And this would be something I'd probably put on like right at the end when I'm cooking my meat. Potatoes, I don't really mind the potato if it's like room temperature, but I want like grilled meat steaming hot right off the grill. I want, peppers steaming hot right off the grill. I'm not going to not eat them if they're cold, but I usually like them a little bit hotter. So I kind of like pace my cooking so that the things that want to be hot are hot when they need to be. All right, great. We got our greens. Now we're just going to treat this like celery. By that, I mean, that's about the right size for celery. It almost kind of looks like celery too. It's got that little like curve to it. But any of the bigger ones, I'm just going to cut in half. I'm going to make some sticks here, some celery sticks, and then we're going to take those celery sticks and we're going to cut them into little tiny dice. Yeah, this is something I recommend doing with any stems, kale stems also. If you are like using kale in like a breakfast frittata, let's say, take the stems out when you're done and just cut them real small. Saute them in with your onions before you put the kale in there to wilt. First off, you won't notice that they're in there. You won't have to compost or throw them away. And then you're going to get extra, vitamins and minerals from that. The stems are, any sort of fibrous material like this is going to be good for you. Fiber in general is just, it's a good part of your diet. Helps with, your digestion and stuff. And stems are usually a really great place to get them. So use your stems, use your skins. I will never stop screaming that from the rooftops. Use it all. Broccoli stem is another really good one as well. Another thing that I learned while working in Morning Glory is that you can eat Brussels sprout stems also. That whole like stick, if you ever get them on stem, it's just like this massive weapon basically. But if you take the outside off of it, which could be a bit of a pain, usually a knife will do it. The core itself looks a lot like broccoli stem, tastes a lot like broccoli stem. It cooks up really well. You can really like boil it down and mash it. It's perfectly good. But I honestly like to cut it into little like sticks and just grill it. And that's really tasty as well. Just gotta. Oh my god. So I just wanted to make sure, but yeah, it still tastes like it's supposed to. It's sweet. Like immediately it's sweet, which is just so strange to me for a green. I just usually expect them to be kind of bitter, and they really need like salt or tomato or something to like make them better. This green is just good, all on its own. It is one of my absolute favorite greens. I'm so happy it's back. So I'm cutting these very, very small, much smaller than we are going to be cutting our potatoes. Celery in a potato salad for me is more about texture. It's about that crunch. It's not really, I don't really necessarily want to see it. I want to hear it. I want to feel it. And so I'm trying to cut these fairly small. Did a decent job. I probably could have a little bit smaller, but what are you going to do, All right, so then we'll move on to our greens here. Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give those onions a little stir. So you can see the liquid's starting to turn a lot more pink. The onions also are starting to turn a lot more pink. This is where like overnight is definitely going to give you a better product, but we're getting really, really close. This is going to be perfect, I think, by the time we're ready to make potato salad. Okay, perfect. So with the greens, we want to just layer them all out like this. We're going to go from sort of biggest to smallest if we can. If we can get this all done in one stack, that'll be awesome, but I definitely don't suggest trying to do one stack at home, just because it makes cutting kind of a nightmare. And if you feel comfy with your knife skills, go for it. Don't let me stop you from trying. This is the same thing I'd do if I was trying to chiffonade basil. That's the technique we're going to use here, is chiffonade. I don't know what it exactly stands for, but essentially it means like thin strips. So with a basil, you'd cut these really thin strips and then maybe sprinkle it on top of your dish after, or mix it in. We're going to do the exact same thing here. And I just like that, for these especially, I really like that sort of shape. It's big enough that they're going to have some texture, but it's not so big that they become the star. This is almost our herb. We're using this kind of as an herb in this dish. It is going to be one of our main flavor components. And so we want to make sure that those pieces are evenly distributed. And one of the best ways to do that is to have, small pieces. But if I was to cut this like an herb, it would probably turn into a wet mess, because it's not an herb. It's got a decent amount of moisture in it compared to what an herb would have. So if I tried to like dice this really, really tiny and make a chop, I'd end up with a paste. Not exactly what we're looking for potato salad. So I think the chiffonade is a really good way to kind of get it throughout the dish without sort of ruining the green itself. Cool, I think we're going to be able to do this. And so I think about when I'm eating this, I don't really want too many sort of long strips, despite the fact that I did just put a whole bunch of long strips in there. But I want like a decent size, so like 2 inches or so. And so I'm sort of measuring here, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe. So I got this nice stack. I'm going to cut right down the middle first, and then I'm going to cut those middles into half as well. So I've got these nice quarters, and that gives me these sort of long strips that are about the right width. And then it's just a matter of taking this whole pile, sort of putting it all together, and then doing my darndest to cut nice, beautiful strips out of it. Yeah, not too shabby. Cool. So you can see you've got some pretty nice looking chiffonade. And I probably would get kicked out of a French restaurant, but that's okay. We're not cooking at a French restaurant. That's the beauty. We're cooking at home. You can do whatever you want. You don't have any head chef over you. You just get to enjoy yourself and your time, and then make people, and all your friends are not going to care one bit about how good your chiffonade is. They're going to look at this, they're going to taste it, and they're going to go, how did you do that? And you can tell them if you want to. It's not a secret, okay? This is public knowledge over here. So anytime you do a pile chop like this, it always starts to get a little bit crazy as you get towards the end. I'm like king of massive piles of greens. I hate having to do greens twice, so I always just make way too much, like exploding off the side of my cutting board. But that's okay. That's how you know you're doing it right. At least that's how the way I know I'm doing it right. Perfect. Awesome. So tons and tons of chiffonade. You can see, like, this is a lot of greens. We're not messing around. This is like one of my favorite parts about this salad, is that it's, it was healthy because we weren't using mayo. Not that mayo is unhealthy. Like, it's everything in its own amount. But it's really just like got a lot going on in there. I mean, this is totally something we would have done to a morning glory. Just toss a little bit of whatever green happened to be in season that wasn't actually the kamatsuna. So, all right, we're looking pretty good here. We've got those. I know that the potatoes need a little bit more time. So, how do you guys feel about me making some lemonade? We got all these lemons, and I'm like, what am I going to do with these? So it's kind of a summer day outside right now. I feel like a nice glass of lemonade might not be so bad. I will say I got a little bit of ice, actually. Maybe we can have some iced lemonade. All right, awesome. Maybe let me grab some of that ice. I didn't expect to actually have ice. So you can do absolutely anything with the lemons at home. Just don't throw them away. It's like people you throw away egg whites when they're using yolks for something, or the vice versa. I don't know how. It's one of the reasons why I just won't make meringue, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do with all these yolks. But you can do absolutely anything. Obviously, lemonade is just a quick, easy way. We already had the sugar out. Why not just make some lemonade? So I'm gonna put some ice here so they're nice. It's nice and cold for you guys. Let's have a little bit of a spring treat here. So I don't have a juicer. Obviously, a juicer would be the best here. And they get really hard to juice when you take their skins off. They don't like that very much. They kind of just start to fall apart. Whoop. Oh well.
So you have to use the lemons right away. You can't leave them.
You could leave them like this. The skin protects them from drying out. So usually, even if you have I've had some pretty old lemons before where the skin was absolutely worthless, but the inside was still pretty juicy. Without the skin, these are going to dry out on the inside as well. So eventually you'll kind of lose everything that makes them a lemon. But yeah, no, you don't have to use them right away. You can keep them in the fridge though. You definitely want, you can keep lemons on the counter for a decent amount of time. But once you peel them like this, you're going in the fridge for sure. So I'm just going to do them by hand though. That'll be perfectly fine. They actually juice a little bit easier because they're kind of more tender at this point. But what I usually find happens is the sides will split open and it's just a mess on your hands. But that's okay. I'm not afraid to get dirty. And so this is a really great tool if you guys don't already have one. We use this when we were making mousse as well. Just a fine mesh strainer, and this size I find is really perfect for home use. In kitchens, we have these big, giant conical ones. They're called a chinois, and they're amazing. They work really, really well, but it's too much for what you need at home. This is the perfect size. You can make a perfect little, raspberry mousse with this, or pretty much anything you like. But it works really good for things like this, where you just want to take out larger, more fibrous things, or for, in this case, seeds. I do have one of those little fold juicers at home, but I forgot to bring it in today, and we don't have one here. But we don't really, we don't juice citrus tons, so that's kind of why we don't have it. But I probably should have measured this, but we're just gonna measure with our heart. Let's see, it's 8 lemons. Each lemon's about a 1/4 cup, so we'll say we have 2 cups of juice. I feel like that might be too much, so maybe we'll start with a cup of sugar and we'll see how it goes. So for me, at least, lemonade, you can't really make it wrong. You can have as much or as little sugar as you want. I'll just mix lemon and water. There's nothing wrong with that, I know my mom likes lemon in her water. So we can't really over or under sugar this. We could definitely over sugar it though. So I'm going to start with a cup, and I probably won't bother putting any more in there. I think that's going to be okay. This is about 2 liters worth of container here. So. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, that seems about right. All right, so we'll go for a cup of sugar. Don't look, guys. I know, this is how you make lemonade. Don't tell anyone. It's so tasty. It doesn't even look like there's any sugar in it at all. Okay, perfect. I'm just going to put the tiniest touch of salt in there. So a little bit of salt in sugary things is sort of a good trick, especially good for summer. Got to get a little bit of extra hydration in there, but it also makes all the flavors pop. Absolutely. And with a whole cup of sugar in there, we're not going to even notice that salt's in there. Apart from the fact that we're going to be like, why does this taste so good? And that's why. All right, we'll hit this with some cold water. And you can make a simple syrup for lemonade beforehand if you want to, especially if you really like lemonade. Melt that sugar down with about a cup of water, equal parts. You can put the lemon juice in there as well if you want to. And then just use that straight from your fridge to make, single glasses of lemonade. But I never think that far ahead, so I always am stuck sort of mixing my sugar as I put it in. You just want to make sure the sugar dissolves. It shouldn't have any problem with this much. But otherwise, the last person to have a cup of lemonade is going to be Like, what's that? I mean, they might have a really great day after that, though. Probably get a lot done, but. I really like lemonade. So there is, for those of you who have never been there before, I do have a food blog from during the COVID times. It's trashpandaepl.wordpress.com, and one of the things I made on there was contains gin lemonade. During the pandemic, when we'd all punch out of our digital sort of version of our jobs, it always felt weird because you're still at home, so we needed like an off button, and nothing was better for me than like going outside and just having a nice glass of contains gin lemonade. And we used to serve it in something that looked a lot like this. And I gotta say, I miss a little. I don't drink anymore, so I miss the contains gin part, but I don't miss the lemonade one bit. I make it all the time. Oh, that's pretty good. I'm gonna leave it like that. Probably too much water. I didn't really think about how much was in here, but it's nice. It's light. It's not too sweet. A little bit of lemon flavor. This top might be dangerous. I might have to serve you guys instead of letting it be self-serve, but we'll get back to that in a second. Let's go check out these potatoes. I think they're probably at least cool enough for us to start making our potato salad. I didn't pre-plan for this. Let's see, do I have... Yeah, I got cups. All right, good. Okay, cool. Woohoo! All right, sweet. Let's get potatoes and let's start making salad. So they're still a little warm, but there's no way around it. I guess we are going to have a warm potato salad today. What are we looking at? Yeah, we're doing good. Okay, cool. And that's just what it is. This is one of the reasons why I considered doing... oh, that's so perfect.
Now, what kind of potatoes are those?
So yeah, I used... those aren't hot. They're just warm, so we're good. This actually, I think, might work out pretty well. These are golds, or Yukon golds, or sometimes butter potatoes, they're called. And you can tell, this is like, for me, it's perfect. I could tell when I was cutting it too, like the knife kind of sticks to it almost. That's how you can tell the starch has started to solidify, and also that the potatoes are well cooked. So we're doing good here. We're just going to have to cut these up. They are, unfortunately, a little hot. If they were a little bit colder, they wouldn't break up as much when I'm doing this. But they'll cool a little bit as I cut them as well. Oh, this is going to be so good. I'm doing nice chunky pieces.
My only concern is the greens and the, because are they, like with the Swiss chard, I can't eat a lot of it because of the heart medication.
Oh, I got you. So this one isn't, I know chard has a very specific chemical in it, I think. That this is a dark green. The Kamatsuna Choi that's a good question. I might be worth looking up. You can definitely pick around it for today at least. But if there is a green you can use it, or you can always just like go heavier on the potatoes here and just use like a normal herb. Something like a dill would not go out of place here, and do something a little bit more similar to a normal potato salad. The base recipe, the base sort of dressing for this is the mustard, the oil, and the lemon paste. So, the greens are for me at least, were sort of a tribute to the time that I had at Morning Glory and sort of what we had at hand. But you can definitely replace them with anything. Especially if you really shouldn't be eating them. So.
I remember the family that had a heart missing from. He had valves missing from his heart. He cannot have anything green at all.
No greens at all. Yeah. I wonder what exactly it is. I'm sure there's like a specific chemical that's in there. It's probably one of the things that, like, for us, potassium maybe?
It's something to do with the blood thinner.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's probably like a chemical that is normally healthy for you, but as soon as you start taking, certain medications, can actually work against you. So.
Because I had a problem. I ate so much Swiss chard last.
I'm happy you like Swiss chard. You can eat my portions. It's like a wild thing. We're talking about the things that I like the most. Swiss chard is one of the only vegetables that I'm not in love with. I will eat it, don't get me wrong. But if there's like kale, I always go for kale instead. So.
I've never had kale.
Really? Oh man. You're just a Swiss chard woman.
Well,
I like
just
that.
discovered that about 3 years ago and went crazy, but I went too crazy last year.
Yeah, I mean, chard has a really, really intense flavor. And I think that's part of the reason that I kind of get turned off by it. Is it's just like almost too intense for me. I will say I haven't really seriously eaten chard in like 8 years, so maybe I should just try again.
Well, it was the rainbow.
Yeah, and it's so pretty too. And I like the stems of chard actually. Now that I'm really thinking about it, the stems I think are probably one of my favorite parts, especially the rainbow chard. They're so pretty to pickle. Oh yeah, these are good. If they had a little bit more time to cool, I think they'd be even easier to cut, which would be nice too. But the texture is just like feels perfect as I'm cutting them. It literally feels like I'm cutting through like a perfect sort of piece of butter. I love gold potatoes. I mean, I love all potatoes, let's be honest. But gold potatoes especially. I don't know how a root, or I guess it's a tuber technically, how a tuber got so much butter in it, you know? Like, selective breeding, I guess, but like, it is wild how buttery they taste for something that is literally just, you know, starch.
There was a lady at Morning Glory the other day, and she was standing there and taking fistfuls of the fingerlings,
Yeah.
putting them in the bag, and then she'd stop, and I thought she was going to move away, and then she took another, and finally she was embarrassed at how many she took, and she said to me, "They're just so delicious.
They are.
So buttery."
Yep.
She roasts them.
Yes. Oh, fingerlings are so good. I was planning on using the smaller potatoes like I mentioned today. I do think this dish works better. If you guys look on your sort of your recipes, you'll see that we actually chose sort of the smaller potatoes. They're easier at this step too when you go to actually cutting them. It's just a lot less steps. Or you can even just put them in whole, which I really like. Those whole new potatoes is sometimes what they're called. I also really like those for grilling. You don't have to do anything. You can just mix them in with the rest of your veggies, a little salt and pepper, and you put them on the grill whole. They won't go through the grill grates. That's like they're the perfect size for that. Just kind of roll them up and down the grill as they get nice and charred on the outside.
But it's still gold.
What's that?
Still gold.
Yeah, I mean, you could use any potato for this, but golds are they just have the right texture. They have the right sort of flavor. Every part of them just screams, I want to be in a potato salad to me. For me, like russets are baked potato or fried potato. French fries, I'm doing russets. Gold potatoes are for potato salad. Sometimes red skin potato salad. You know, if I'm doing like a mayonnaise one, especially red skins, that red really works as a nice sort of contrast to the white of the mayo. But for this salad specifically, anything that's kind of more acidic and has a little bit of brightness, I like that. Like, they're not fatty, but they like invoke fattiness when you're eating them. So I really like that part of the yellow potato, and that's why I like to use them. Oh, I still need this to drink. We got one more thing to chop up, our pickled red onions, and then it's mixing time. We'll need mustard, we'll need oil, and we'll need our paste. But hopefully these are about done. Yeah. So these will keep pickling. You can definitely just leave them if you want to, but you can see that brine is this nice bright pink. The onions have turned this nice bright pink. This is everything we were hoping for. Oh, and they smell absolutely divine. Okay, cool. So we're just going to take these out, big chunks at a time. I do want some of the vinegar, and I'll be able to pour some in later when we actually get to mixing it. It just adds a nice little brightness, but for now I just want the onions. And we're going to use the whole batch. Those big chunks I left in there from before, I'm just going to leave in this brine and let them pickle overnight, and they'll be great on a sandwich tomorrow. They'll soften up a lot too overnight. Okay, perfect. Keep doing this, put stuff in everybody's way. All right, so we're just going to do a rough chop on these. We really don't need to do much. We want to have a couple pieces that are still maybe even full strips in there. I'm not super worried. I don't want them to disappear. I do want to be able to sort of see that bright red pieces as we mix this, and hopefully that's what we get. And again, at home, if you were doing this, I would, if you had the time, wait overnight for sure. They'll be even more bright, more pink, more vinegary. Every part of them is going to be more intense and flavorful. But I want you guys to be able to go out and enjoy this good day. So I'm not going to have you sit here for an hour while I wait for these to pickle perfectly. That is going to be good enough. All right, awesome. So those are done. We don't need the cutting board anymore now. Just clean myself up. All right, so mustard paste. When I used to cook this at Morning Glory Farm, we'd use a very big container called a Lexan, which is about this big and this wide, and it would just be full of cold potatoes. And so I'd measure everything with a giant spoon like this. I just scoop in for the paste and thwack it, and we're going to do the exact same thing today because I don't know how to measure this recipe. I put measurements on there, and those measurements will work, don't get me wrong, but I would measure this dish with your heart every single time. And you can see that this paste has gotten more juicy as well as that oil has started to come together. And when you put this in the freezer, it will start to solidify and look a lot like it did before. So to this day, I really like a big bowl that's wide like this. You can really get an idea of what's in there, how much mass is in there. That helps you to sort of season. So I'm basically going to just spread this out over the top until it's sort of at a point that I like. Like that feels like maybe enough. Maybe put one more little spoon. This kind of gives me an idea of like what is in my bowl and then what I'm trying to season. I'm imagining how much of this per bite I want, and I'm trying to make sure that that much per bite is in each bite that I can see. I'm like counting how many bites is this, etc. You know, it's sort of intuitive. There's no real method, like sort of specific way to do it. But I really like wide bowls like this specifically because you can kind of spread things out over the top of them and get a good idea for what you're actually putting in your dish. Just a touch of oil, not too much. This is really just to act as a little bit of liquid lubricant in there. We need something. I'm not using lemon juice in this. I will use a little bit of vinegar, most likely. We'll see what it tastes like when I do this first mix. Nice. And so we need a little bit of oil to kind of just like get it to mix together. The oil will also not get absorbed into the potatoes as much as the vinegar or any lemon juice might. And so it'll stay moist for quite a long time, and it'll help sort of keep it. Oh, it smells so good. All right, cool. So again, same deal with the mustard. I'm just kind of measuring with my heart. I want this to taste like mustard. The lemon zest is going to be a really good counteraction to this, even if it kind of gets a little bit spicy. We're not going to be worried about it. I'll probably end up using the rest of this, honestly. We're not going to worry about it being a little spicy because the sweetness is really going to help sort of cut that and bring it back together. So I'm just going to go ahead and start mixing this. I got a feeling I'm going to need more mustard just because I have all those greens in there and because I added all that asparagus. And the heat is actually helping us a little bit here. It's going to kind of wilt the greens for us a bit, and the greens are going to help to sort of cool down those potatoes and get them to a spot that we really, really like. Oh my God, yes. I'm so excited for this, guys. Every time I make this, I'm so excited for it. It's such a nice salad. I really, really like it. It really like takes potato salad and makes it a salad, you know? I am going to put a little salt in here. I just wanted to kind of see what my, now that I got this a little mixed up, I can see my ratio. I can see that there's plenty of mustard on each part of piece of potato. I got my red onions in there looking good. I can't see the lemon zest, but I can smell it and it smells good. I'm going to put a little bit of salt. And again, very helpful to sort of have this wide thing. I can kind of sprinkle it over at the top. I am not putting pepper in this. I usually would put pepper in. I did pepper in my test batch, and it got, it was really aggressive. Like I could taste it every time I took a bite. And I love pepper, don't get me wrong. Feel free to put pepper in here, but I want you guys to be able to taste the mustard. I want you to be able to taste the lemon zest without having to sort of wade through some pepper. And so that's why I'm skipping the pepper here. But
Is this one of the salads that's even better tomorrow?
it's good every time. I actually like it better fresh though. Tomorrow, like I said, the greens will have wilted more. You'll actually have a little bit of like liquid at the bottom from the greens. You'll want to mix it back up again. And I find the flavors are still good, but they actually get a little bit more muted because they collide and they become one flavor instead of like 5 different flavors all at once. So it's not bad the next day, but I think it is a little bit better actually day of. All right, sweet. Okay, guys, let's take a peek here at the flavor and see what we need to do to adjust. I have a feeling I'm going to put more mustard in there just because, oops, you don't want to be in there. Happy we're done with those. All right, got my taste test spoon. Make sure I get a little asparagus. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, definitely more mustard. I knew I was going to put the whole thing in there, but the paste is perfect. And there's a touch more oil. Otherwise, that's good though. So the zest is so sweet and so strong that even like a really nice, like spicy mustard like this can get really overwhelmed and you kind of lose it. That's why I like the stone ground a little bit more, because it's got that kind of Dijon bite that a whole grain mustard doesn't always have. It depends on what kind of whole grain mustard you're using. The stuff we got at Morning Glory were these big giant gallon jugs, and it was so good. But it's hard to find commercial things. Hence the why I figured out how to make the lemon zest at home. It's hard to find commercial things in the real world. So for now, I think it's happy for me too that the best mustard I think for this happens to be the cheapest one too. All right, guys, this is done officially. That is our potato salad. Oh man, I'm really excited for you guys to try this. All right, let's get some bowls together. Let's go. I'm gonna get some cups for our lemonade as well. Okay. So I'm going to try and just, I'm going to serve them all at once, and let's have you guys come up all together instead of going one at a time. That'll be good for the lemonade as well. So I'll do all the bowls, and then I'll serve the lemonade as you guys come up. Oh, thanks, Mom. I was just going to do 24, but I appreciate that. All right, I don't need those ones. Okay, let's rock. I think 1 spoon should be good.
Oh.
So I think I'm going to make this. If not this, then I'll make the cake.
Oops.
For the people in my building, I'm doing 2 nights, and then the other one, I used to run around 3 nights. They think that, what's
Well, I volunteer once a week. I go in for a couple of hours with Margie, and she's amazing. Amazing.
All right.
All I can say. In the kitchen,
Make sure everybody's got a nice little sample plate here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, if you want to start coming up and grabbing yourselves a dish, get some paper towels. We got forks. I will start pouring out some lemonades as well. I feel like this thing, oh, you know what it is? I put this on the wrong way. Of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry. I have a 3:30 meeting.
Oh, yikes. Go, go, go.
So I'm not eating and running. But thank you very much.
You're very welcome. This was not the best thing to use for lemonade. I thought, I was like, that's going to pour really good.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Of course. Feels like a picnic. That's what I was kind of going for, you know?
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I hope you enjoy. This is the worst picture I've ever used in my life.
Maybe if you took the lid off completely.
Yeah, honestly, I think it might be even better.
What?
I said hi.
The top off?
Yeah, yeah.
Take one to my sister's when she gets home.
Yeah, anyone you want, as hungry as you feel like you want to be, and definitely come grab more if you think you want some. You're very welcome.
Very excited.
I believe I'm going to drink lemonade with sugar.
Hey, you don't have to, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Here, let me get you a little more. Oh. That one was one of my lower ones, you know? Who doesn't like veggies? What? Are you gonna come have some though?
You see where I'm at the end of the line, right?
I believe in you.
If you don't hurry, it's going to be gone.
Ooh, yeah. Lemonade turned out all right. All right.
I'm sure. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, Chris.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Lemonade turned out good.
Thank you for doing this, Chris.
Of course, on top of you could come.
It looks good.
What kind of mustard?
Don't like vegetables.
I just use the like the Stop and Shop brand.
Oh, good.
Yeah, like literally the cheapest one.
Yeah, right. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, lemonade's perfect, not too much sugar.
I grew up
Of course.
with canned vegetables, so I didn't know what real vegetables was all about.
We don't know anything about that around here.
Everything in my family is canned vegetables.
Some canned vegetables are worthwhile.
Corn.
For like,
Peas, baby.
I like corn and peas for like shepherd's pie. Anything where they're like gonna get cooked to all hell anyways. But yeah, I can't really stand by canned vegetables for anything else. Chili too, really good for chili.
Oh yeah.
Woo!
Lemon zest is great.
Yeah. If anybody is interested and wants to go a little crazy, the lemon zest paste is up here. If you guys want to try some straight up, feel free to use a little spoon here. You want a little bit? It's almost like a condiment. If you want to just scrape some out of this, you're welcome to, or I can come up and serve you actually if you want to try some by itself. It's wild. It's so good. Yeah, it's intense. It's sweet, a little bitter, but not too bitter.
Oh, it's really sweet.
You can try by itself. I'll try a little bit of this, yeah. But yeah, I really like it on like cream cheese, bagels as well. Like it's good in so much different stuff. The lemon zest paste I'm talking about. All right, cool. Guys, thank you so much for coming to the last Sheffler Cooks Before Summer. I hope to see you guys all in the fall. We're going to start off with a special request that I've already had from one of you guys. We're going to do a little bit of an egg series in the fall. We're going to do 3 egg dishes that I hope are going to be informative and fun. I won't tell you too much about it, but they should be great. assuming eggs don't like double in value again by then, we're definitely on. And then after that, I was not joking. I would love to hear from you all, as well as people who are maybe listening to this on YouTube. Tell me what you like to eat. Tell me something that you think I can cook for the whole group. Let's spread the joy. Let's spread the cheer. Let's spread the things that we like. I'm asking the staff also. So for the next year, we might just be exploring everybody's favorites. I want you guys to kind of get a chance
Black
to
bean soup.
meet some of them through their favorite foods, and then to meet some of each other as well through your own favorite foods. So I'll figure out a specific way to like take suggestions, but during those 3 months, we're going to be doing eggs, so we'll have some time to sort of pick it all up and put it together. But until then, I'll see you guys then. September should be when we jump back into cooking again, but we're going to take the next 3 months off. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks for coming every time, and I hope you enjoy and hope you get to use this summer at the beach or at home or wherever you may desire.